So before we get started, I'd like to address something that was brought to my attention today. So I finally hit 500 subscribers, and I'd like to thank you all from the bottom of my heart very much for the continued support, all the watches of my nonsense, all the likes, all the comments. It really means a lot to me, and I'm thankful for all of you. I know some people are probably like, oh, 500 subscribers, that's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket when you have like 100,000 subscriber channels and million subscriber channels and PewDiePie pissing off the whole world because he did a joke that wasn't that funny anyways. It means a lot to me, and I love that I got to this point, and I can't wait to see where we go further as we continue to talk about silly Chinese cartoons and goofy men in tights and children's card games. So without further ado, let's get on to an episode that... Okay, so I'm noticing a lot of people liked this episode. If you did, that's great. I liked one specific thing about it, but the rest of it was just, it was all a bunch of cop-outs, and for no real reason, really. So the big defining things this episode was, you have the first half where Yusaku goes to get his data storm, and he gets this Link 3 card, the new Code Talker, that actually is a very good card. And he goes to go get it, and he can't get through the data storm because when he does, his arm is like ripped off. I liked that they used more of the background, as that was one of my big complaints last week, but you needed to introduce the danger level then. You needed the visual metaphor of his arm getting cut off or his shoulder getting slammed off. You needed that when you were establishing what was going on, not an episode later. The impact has already been had. Either you're in with them dueling in a tornado, or you're not. And I don't think this really actually is going to improve anything for anybody, but at the same time, I do appreciate that they did it. Even if it feels very last minute, and they were just like, oh yeah, we thought of this now. But then, so Ignis then becomes large, and then regenerates Yusaku's arm, and then creates a shield around his duel board and changes the duel board, and then creates a barrier to protect Yusaku as he goes in there like it's the frickin' final 2 minutes of Kill La Kill. And there's not even a pretty girl in her underwear, so it's not even as fun as the ending to Kill La Kill. Like, if you're gonna emulate it, at least give me some Aoi fan service, goddammit. And so then he gets his card, which I assumed this thing was going to be like a super cool Link 4, because they talked about how big this data storm is. And again, I like the new Code Talker. It's good and it's cool, but yeah, what is the logic to the data storms at this point? But then there's this bit where Yusaku is like, but you'll, I forget if he actually said die or whatever. And then that happens, and I'm like, wait, did we establish that could happen, that Ignis would die in the data storms? I thought he made the data storms or something, or who knows. But then it doesn't matter, because Ignis just comes back out of the duel disk spewing one-liners, being like, oh, I ran a recovery program. There are so many things wrong with this setup. First and foremost, I didn't know Ignis could get large like that. I didn't know Ignis could regenerate lost limbs like that. I didn't know he could alter the duel board like that. I didn't know he had any problem with the data storm. All of these are things we kind of need because it just feels like a big cop-out. Again, where was all this when everyone else needed the help? Like, why doesn't Aoi get help saving her own life? Same with Go, or Kira, or Ghost Girl. Everything is just for Yusaku. And when he just has all these things helping him, it just kind of makes him seem like a loser. Like, everyone else fought harder than him because everyone else had a harder time than him because not everyone has the power-ups he has. It doesn't make watching Yusaku very fun if the minute anything bad happens, he's going to have someone just come and save his ass. Which, lo and behold, is what happens with our next big cop-out. The duel ends in a tie. And not like last time where it ended in a tie just so they could get to a situation where Revolver would have more control. It ends in a tie because his dad is about to die. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the whole ending in a tie thing is bullshit. When was the last time any of you ever actually got both your life points to 0? No, you got stuck game 2 in a regional because someone was playing some slow-ass stupid stall deck. I'm still mad about that last regional. You know who you are! Lost my train of thought there. But no, it's just... And I understand that you kind of write yourself into a corner where someone's got to die. But then at the end of the episode, Kusanagi's like, what happens to Yusaku? And any sort of tension from that is ruined because in the preview, Yusaku's just fine. Like, you gotta be kidding me. This is like when they did Batman v Superman and they killed Superman. But a week before, they released an official photo of Henry Cavill training for Justice League. Like, is any thought put into any of this? Like, so Yusaku... they end in the tie, which again, it's stupid. Why can't Yusaku just lose? Or why can't Revolver lose? And because this is all by his design anyways, he just escapes at the last minute. Like, why does it have to be, oh, none of them win? Because God knows we show any of these two as realistic as far as their skills at card games go. It's just ridiculous. The new topologic thing seems annoying. If we can't even have Chaos Emperor Dragon here in the TCG, we can't have this thing. But if there was one thing I did like, I liked the whole interaction between Revolver and his father, and I like how they're handling the slow reveal of who Revolver actually is. Now, a lot of people piece together Revolver's design by the little bits we got. There's some really great fan art besides what I just have up here of the character, so check that out. But what I really like is that there's a visual metaphor here of we know bits and pieces of this guy, but we don't know him. We know his villainous persona of this violent, strategic, just I play by my rules, ends justify the means type villain when he's in his Revolver persona. But apart from that, we don't really know a lot about him. And it's actually kind of gives the character this air of creepiness, especially because he doesn't look that intimidating as a normal person. Like when we found out he knows who Yusaku is because he was at the hot dog stand, they only showed like the back of his head and his mouth. We see a shot of his eyes when he's staring out from the water. We saw a silhouette of him very early on. This is very clever ways to build up the character without having to give him an unrealistic design or having to maybe necessarily give him this darker shot. And then the key thing here is they show him as a child. With this whole situation with his father going on, this tells us all we need to know about how he idolizes his father. This isn't just about revenge. He has this very strong perception of his dad, and we see that when he was a child, there was at least some sort of strong bond between the two. We can infer so much from so little, and this is the clever stuff we actually want from Yugioh. And then the way the father addresses him, first by addressing him by his first name, which I think that's the first time we heard it. Addressing him by his first name, not caring about any of the other things, but doing what he has to do to ensure his son's last chance, so his son can then die in a crazy internet explosion. But like that securing that setup, giving him his way out to save himself. These are very clever ways of establishing what kind of person Revolver and his father are without just doing it as a big dump. It's clever, it's neat, and I liked it. I like that Revolver felt such a strong need to get to his father before everything goes to shit. I just think everything around it really needed to be ironed out. But what did you think? Tell me in the comment section below what you thought about all this, if you thought it was epic. And as for the TCG question of the week, I'm sure you're expecting me to ask something about the Kaiba thing coming out tomorrow, but I actually would like to ask something a bit more important that has happened. So this Saturday is what is called the OTS tournament. That's official tournament store. Crap, you can't have tournament two names. It's a thing where you compete in a glorified local to win nationals invites, and it tells Konami what stores are doing good and helps get people attention towards their local stores. One problem, though. Apparently 6 or 7 months ago, Konami changed their ID system for the local stores. And apparently there are many stores that did not know about this, because apparently I guess Konami never bothered to check on this. And apparently a lot of stores are actually missing from the OTS. So I want to hear from you if your stores are missing, and if at that point, do you feel the desire to hunt down a store that does? Is getting your nationals invite from this important to you? Do you really want the chance? Do you think Konami really needed to address this better? I mean, they did, but how do you think they should address this? Or how do you think Konami should going further with their relationship with OTS stores? Because it feels like it's always one step forward with like the Lost Ark promos, but then one step back with a PR nightmare like this where they're not even directly addressing the situation for most stores. And that's a big problem, and I feel Konami needs to improve their relationship with local OTSs besides will occasionally throw you a bone. But tell me what you think of that in the comment section below. Click to like, click subscribe, and once again, thank you for getting to 500 subscribers. I'm glad to have you all here.